now tuning in with Tierra Tanae. Welcome to the Lions Den.
Big AP in this bitch, dice in the shit. Glock 43 was the blick. Gotta move around with the stick.
What's the deal? It's your girl Tierra Tanae, and you are now tuning into the Lions Den. And I have some incredible, beautiful women here with me today. I have Jessica and I have Cara, but that is also short for Jakara. So I have J and J. We got the J's here today. Two phenomenal women, two amazing curators. We have also a published book writer here and entrepreneurs, business women, just incredible people in the industry, cannabis industry, in the industry of business, and just literally empowering Black women here today. The owners of the Copper House, y'all. Make some noise.
Yeah.
Period. Yes. Yeah. So how does it feel to be, for one, just beautiful Black women in a male-dominated industry? How does that feel? And not only, hold on. Not only are y'all beautiful Black women in a male-dominated industry, but Copper House is Detroit's first Black-owned, women-owned, queer-owned space, period. Weed, bed, and breakfast, the first official. So y'all broke history. How does that feel? Yes.
How does it feel?
How does it feel?
So honestly, I never even thought about myself like that until someone said, like, you made history. And then I was like, actually, this is a historic home.
Yes.
Like, this is a historic space. This is a historic moment. But I really feel like it's an honor to be able to be that vessel, because a lot of what we've been able to create is not us. It's literally the community that needed a space, and we responded to them. And so I feel honored and proud and excited for what's to come.
Yes, absolutely. So what is the start of Copper House? How did y'all even curate the idea of, okay, let's bring people into our home, let's house people, let's house events? How did it come to that?
I think, so I'll start the real reason. I got fired from my job. I needed money.
Yes.
So we wanted to, when we moved back home, Cara can talk a little bit about her educational background and what she does in cannabis, because I think being a woman in cultivation that's some shit that she carries.
Absolutely.
But she wanted to get into cannabis because she does green industries, and she planted the seed, and I was in my MBA program, and my sorority sister was in California, and she launched a brand called The Apothecary, which is a high-end humidor for cannabis consumers. Specifically because she's a mother, she wanted to have a safe carrying space for her cannabis products that her son wouldn't get to. She was like, I don't want to keep it in a shoebox under the bed anymore, right? But a part of her marketing strategy was to destigmatize the plant, because as a mother, as a high-end executive within TV production, her being vocal about her consumption of cannabis had its own level of stigma. And so as she was sharing her story, I started to look into cannabis as a viable industry. What I learned was that my people were more likely to be incarcerated. My people were less likely to own businesses. And it is incredibly difficult to have equity in the cannabis industry. And so I did my capstone project on the cannabis industry as an industry I would want to move into after I finished my MBA program. And when we moved home, because it's very costly to get in, I didn't have the capital to start my own cannabis licensed business. And so I did what I could do, which was bring people together and do education. I was an educator. And so we did, our first pop-up was actually called La Bodega, and we had a caregiver come and talk about different strains and different terpenes within the plant. We had a bachata instructor come and teach bachata, and then I had my friend who was a Puerto Rican chef who was starting to launch her catering business, and I had her teach about empanadas and made empanadas.
Come on, empanadas. Y'all know I just made some peach cobbler empanadas.
Exactly, they're fire. They're fire, and they in every culture too. And so but that was my first event, and we like sold out. It was crazy.
I know that's right.
We rented this loft in Corktown, and it was like dope. And I was like, I could do this. I could create educational events that are fun experiences and start to normalize and destigmatize, right?
Yes.
And I started to do it out of my home. Well, because cost of renting a venue were high, and it affected, like, I also need to make sure my value exchange is fair for me,
exactly.
Right? And so I was like, let's just start doing these education sessions out of our home. We started with the flower show. We brought caregivers out that taught about what was happening. We brought also cultivators out that taught people about growing.
Now, I don't mean to cut you off, but when did you start doing this? Like, when around was your first event?
2019.
2019?
So this was
Okay.
in 2019.
Okay.
And we were getting buzz that we landed this is 2019, a 420 cover of the Free Press, because we convened Black leaders in cannabis at our house for a dinner. And I was like, okay, so now my shit that I'm doing on the side is coming to light, right? Like I can't be in the closet no more.
Yeah.
So I came out of the cannabis closet, is what I like to say. Posted on Tuesday, 4/17 of 2019, was terminated from my executive level nonprofit consulting job 4/19, the day before my 420 party. So I was
2 days after. It was the day before, but 3 days after I posted about being. So I posted about being in cannabis, and I did it through this, like, this is a social equity qualified business. Like they're creating pathways for funding. We need to be in ownership, and I still got fired, which led me to understand the deep stigma and the criminalization and how that goes around with this plant, right? Like people are losing jobs. Mm-hmm.
People are getting drug tested and losing jobs.
Yeah.
People are not having access to capital to get the businesses.
People are always losing their jobs for marijuana. That's crazy.
It's crazy. It's something that people at the plants right now, if they get tested, they lose their job.
Through. Yeah. People that have been there for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so consumption advocacy, that's what started my wave in consumption advocacy, and also started the need for Copper House, because I went from almost making 6 figures to now making the real unemployment, which was $300 a week back in the day before we had COVID.
Right, before COVID.
Yep. So it was a need. We opened our home out of a need. And then once we started learning constantly from people who were coming in, what they wanted, how they wanted to activate the space. We never had an aesthetician in our space before you.
Yeah,
and then so there's lots of things that we learned throughout the process.
I love that. So aiding in all of your background knowledge that you have, and then combining your background knowledge, what was your expertise field in basically directing Copper House and bringing it into what it is now also?
Well, I manage operation. I'm operations manager at a grow facility currently, and so learning
the 3rd largest in the state.
Come on now, speak that. We got numbers, real numbers though. Yeah.
Thank you, babe. Learning about property management definitely was a transferable skill that I could apply here at Copper House. Because you don't really think about okay, you have to make updates. You got to stay compliant with the city. You have to pull permits, and then you have to. It's just all the stuff that you have to comply with to make sure that you're running a safe business is definitely very important. And also being in cannabis and having to learn about what's going on in the industry is also very important, because that's going to impact how we're going to operate too. Especially with CRA. Buckling down on consumption lounges, and being considered a consumption lounge, even though we were just a overnight stay, is definitely something that we also have to be aware of, and obviously stay compliant there, because we want to be a viable business, we want to be a legitimate business, and we want to grow in the future. So knowing all of that, so that's definitely helped. I'm not sure about you, Jessica.
Oh, what transferable skills? I think so. My background was also in residential education, so I've run large dormitory facilities for college students. And so I think the key differentiator that we offer at Copper House is that we say it's a safe space, but it literally is very welcoming and inclusive, right? So when you come into the space, my goal is for everybody to feel like they find a place to belong. You matter here, you're valuable here, you have an asset that you can bring to the table, and we can come up together. And I think that that's an integral part to our business model. I will say this till I'm red in the face, blue in the face.
Either or.
Blue in the face. But we wouldn't be here without the folks who have activated the space, right? Even the first 420 dinner, Mary Pryor in New York pulled in the writer Darylyn Hurston from the Free Press, and then Heather Carter. It was all a collective action. We were just a space. We just hold the space.
Yeah. So tell me, what does a day and or a night at the Copper House look like? If I'm just a person that's seeing this interview for the first time, being introduced to the both of you for the first time, how do I go about actually booking the Copper House? Where do I go? What is that process like? And then once I actually get here, can you guys just give kind of what a breakdown experience would be for someone that wants to just spend some time at the Copper House.
Oh, absolutely. If you want a luxurious stay over at the Copper House, you can find us on our website, copperhousedetroit.com. Or that's
Copper House DET.
Thank you. I appreciate that. copperhousedet.com. You can also find us on Instagram at copperhousedet and also Facebook as well. And reach out to us on our email as well. Get cozy at copperhousedet.com.
Yeah, and in terms of process and booking, we're actually in the middle of a transition.
Okay.
Because where we started, to Kara's point around regulations and understanding the legal cannabis and compliant cannabis market, a part of making sure that we're in compliance is we're not an event space, right? So we have hosted in the past micro events with up to 75 people, but now we are really focusing on private events. And so you can book through our website and intimate gatherings. So my ideal customer, or if someone who would want to stay with Copper House, would be sis who's having her bachelorette party and wants to bring all her friends for up to 8 people to have a slumber party. You could do a pot jamma party, which would be, we got infused facial products that you can use and give yourself a facial together.
Yes.
You can do your own. We have a partnership with local dispensaries where you can order your cannabis to be delivered, and you can relax and smoke and consume here. I've had people do a puff and paint slumber party where they paint with their friends, but really we want to be the oasis, the home stay away from home, and the overnight accommodation for cannabis consumers. And then you can book online on our website right now, but we will be moving to Airbnb soon. And so you'll find us on Airbnb as well.
Yes. So is this going to be your first time on Airbnb?
We were on Airbnb when we first started. So
Correct.
the iterations of Copper House is we started with an air mattress in our bedroom upstairs. We were sharing a bathroom with our guests, and it was very different, but it was a learning, and we had to figure things out. And now we have a private apartment in the basement with its own separate entrance and parking. But what was the question again?
Oh, we're just elaborating more on the Copper House experience.
The prototype. I forgot what I was saying. Them edibles must have just.
That's okay.
Oh no, have we been on Airbnb? Okay, we listed on Airbnb and they were booking over our capacity.
Okay.
Because Airbnb has a larger market than some of the cannabis booking sites.
Okay.
And we couldn't keep up with the demand. So we closed our Airbnb down.
So you
on there.
closed.
But also, Airbnb is very family friendly, and because we are we're a cannabis positive space, we want to be conscious of people who are traveling with children, booking here, knowing that we are 420 friendly and allow smoking inside the residence. So
yeah, and those who book need to be 21 and up.
absolutely. So we also wanted to make sure that we were complying with our policies as well as those with the law too. So we decided to pause on that until we figured out marketing for that platform.
Speaking a little bit more into CRA and those laws, because I know a lot of us probably have no idea what CRA means. So could you guys give just a breakdown real quick? What is CRA?
Yeah, it's the Cannabis Regulatory Agency. So they're the ones that manage all the rules about the cannabis industry.
And licensing and stuff like that. So you all have basically admitted that the CRA has been cracking down not only on your business, but just on a lot of cannabis businesses in general. And from what I'm learning, just being in the cannabis industry and having an inside/outside view on it, I'm basically seeing that they basically just want the money. If you guys are not providing these licenses, permits, and paying them, to get this, all of these things in order, they're basically saying, hey, you guys can't do A, B, C, or D. And obviously a lot of growing and small businesses and expanding businesses in the mix are being affected by that. And now you guys are only allowed to have 8 people or less at your space. Yeah. And I know at a point, like you said, you were housing up to 75 guests. Sister Circle Spa Party was my event that was housed here. Charcuterie and Chill was housed here. Spooky Boobies was the last event that we had here. So if you've ever been to any of my events, you know what I'm saying? If you've ever been to anything Copper House related or Tierra Tene related, most of my events have been here at the Copper House, and y'all love it. I always get positive feedback. I absolutely love the Copper House. And just for a quick backstory, how I even met the Copper House, I was actually attending an event for the first time, and I didn't want to pay for the ticket. I'm just like, oh, this ticket is a little pricey, child. So I ended up reaching out to the curator of the event, and I was like, is there anything that you are willing to barter and or I can do for the event? Because I do want to support the event. I want to be present, but it's just the ticket. And he was like, I can basically pay you to host / like work the event. So I was like, okay, bet, let's do it. So when I pulled up, I'm like, it's at a house, like, because this is my first time, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, because Infused, was that the name? I think it was called something like that, but it was an Infused event, and it was real nice, like just luxury. It was beautiful. Like they had
Rampage.
Yes, DJ Rampage. They had a jazz situation going on. It was just an amazing, like, luxury upscale Black event. And so when I put up to the house, again, this is my first time, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm like, how are we gonna do this? So I walk in and then I see there's like all types of vendors set up in the back. Like, it was just such a vibe. And I'm just like, wow, like I was not expecting that at all. I'm just like, this is so cool. And then I remember seeing you, and then I was like, okay, because he told me, he's like, that's the owner. And then I seen you, and he's like, those are the owners. I was like, this is so cool. Like, I've never seen this place in my life. Like, I feel like I'm in Detroit. When you're from Detroit, you feel like you know everything. And I'm just like, how did I not know about this? But it was just such an amazing experience. And then I ended up following him on Instagram, and they were doing a brand ambassador program. So I'm like, let me apply to this because they just seemed like such a cool and open, friendly space. And I got accepted into the program, and it's just been history ever since.
Tierra is like the protege of the Copper Creative Project. She definitely activated the space. Listen. And your energy was off the chain. I remember you that day because you had the tattooed on your back.
Yes.
And, I was like, and then I was like, oh, I like her vibe. I like how you spoke. And like, I was like, oh, she's cool.
Yeah, it was an amazing like experience. And I'm just so happy to have been able to build with y'all, carrying on from that space. But like, I know that that's such a transition, being able to have like such amazing events be curated here from so many different creators.
Some historic people. That's the
what
thing
I'm
that
saying.
is like,
so many different.
The people like when Miss Corona had her first album launch party here, the space wasn't even finished. Like literally she was sitting, and I that's where these roses came from. They was all red, and it was her Healers and Heartbreak album project. And she was here, and I like activated the space for her, and I was like, do you know who she is? Like launching her album, her project right here in our house. And then like for it to just be it's sacred space. Yeah. It's definitely sacred space. And it is, we are transitioning and pivoting, but I think that the real critique is capitalism, because no matter what industry, like cannabis has increasing regulations and costs to access, and it might not be the most profitable because the market is very saturated and new right now. But the same thing, Detroit's about to pass regulations around Airbnb to require licensure to be an Airbnb. So then homeowners that just are using their space to earn a little extra money are going to have to go through another licensing process to be an Airbnb, right? So that's on the docket right now. It's just whenever you create capitalism, you're going to have to deal with the government and your money and figuring out what you need to do to stay compliant to that. So I'm moving on I'm gonna figure out how to stay compliant with it, so I can play the game.
Yeah, because it's like I wanna continue giving these experiences, and also just building my brand and having this source of revenue the right way, and not having to always have people shut shit down. You know what I'm saying?
Shut shit down.
Yes, because that's definitely what they have absolutely been doing. So I just am wishing y'all all the best. To Copper House. I know it's just bigger and better on the way in regards to all of that, and make sure that, again, if you're not already, you're following them on Instagram. And where can they find y'all Instagram?
CopperhouseDET.com, or sorry, on Instagram it's just Copperhouse DET. We'll pop right up.
Period. Okay, boom. So we're gonna get into a personal topic now. So one of the topics I wanted to discuss was the fact that you both are biracial, correct? So Black and white for both of you?
Yes.
Okay. Growing up, I know that a lot of people have a lot of conflicting matters as far as relating to their Black family more and or relating to their white family more. Now, as far as just a little background, is your mom, dad, white, Black? How does that go for you?
My mom's white, my dad's Black.
Same with me.
Mom's white, dad's Black. So what personal struggles can you say that you feel like you have both faced personally, as far as just your own self-reflection of figuring out who you are and like the identity behind just your, I don't know, like your ancestral education?
Funny you should say that. My dad is kind of whitewashed, so he's a black man, but you know he doesn't act a certain way, if that makes sense. He's very whitewashed. Love you, Dad. But you know, we didn't really talk about race or anything. It wasn't even really a thing. And my mom loves black men. That's all she, you know. That's all. I mean, she loves tall, dark, and handsome, and bald. But like, okay, mom, she got a type. My mom got a type. But even still, like, because my mom she's not a typical white either. But still, you know, and I'm sure she didn't know at the time, you know, back in the '60s, you know, navigating what a biracial family would be. How do you raise two young black women and also talk to them about their history, a part that's not always present. So it wasn't until she married my late ex-stepfather that he was the one who said, you need to have these girls watch Roots. They need to understand that they're black. Right. Like, they got, you know, all the stuff that we've missed. And he came into my life when I was like 10. So talking middle school, up until middle school, like I wasn't even aware about that part of my life. So anyway, long story short, he was like, nah, we got to watch Roots. We're taking them Black history museums. We're going to talk about your black side, your blackness, and getting you connected. But I always felt disconnected. I still do, to be honest, sometimes, because, you know, I have a twin sister, and her and I are complete opposites when it comes to our blackness, or how we embrace that side of ourselves. So I always felt a little different, or a little separated from that. And I'm still trying to find ways to feel connected, because I haven't really felt connected with my black side.
I think that's because we try to put blackness as a monolith, right? Like, your connection point to your blackness might not be through stereotypical depictions of blackness. But black gamers or black folks into anime, the black nerds,
oh, yes.
You know, like, that's a whole different category of people. But like, we want to think about it in like, I have a very urban black culture because I grew up from Detroit. So I connect very easily into my blackness. It's very authentic to me.
Yeah.
But I always lacked with my sense of belonging, because I felt like I had to be performative in what that meant for me, right? Like, it was like, I feel like I have to try extra hard, but I don't have to try that hard because I'm black.
Exactly.
And yes, I was raised by a white mother, and that has its nuances, but when I present in the world, I also understand the complexity of my light skin privilege and what that means in terms of proximity to whiteness and making white people feel safe and being able, but I also know that I'm a tool. I'm a really good resource in that way for my people. I'm a good way to build bridges, and that's what I'm meant to be used for. And so I don't question my sense of belonging in something that I am. That's who I am.
That's just who you are.
And then I think that there's been influences of really positive black role models in my life, like my grandmother. So when I think about black femininity and connecting to womanhood, which I think black women are the most sacred space. And that's where, if anything, the disconnect comes, I didn't have a black mama. You know, like, that's the thing I think that, like, but I had a grandmother.
Absolutely.
I had a grandmother. And my grandma is the most solid rock in my life. She still got her flaws. That's the thing. My mom, she's white as hell and doesn't understand. She's trying to connect so hard with me about it now. And I'm like, Mom, please stop. I just have accepted that's not a part of our relationship. Funny. But my grandmother is the most conservative, apostolic Pentecostal woman who thinks I'm a heathen going to hell because I have hand tattoos and married a woman. And so I have a disconnect in every community because I'm weird. I'm just weird. And I think we got to accept being weird and, like, just be like, I'm going to be me. Last time I went to church with my grandma, I started wearing gloves. You know, like, I'm still there to get the message of the Lord. Y'all don't accept me fully. That's fine. But I'm here to spend time with my grandma, get this FaceTime, and pray. My mom doesn't understand what it's like to live in a world in a melanated body. And she's never had to consider that, even though she had a daughter. But, you know, whatever. White privilege is real. That's the context she exists within. That's her safety. and she has too much trauma to learn past it. She's trying though, which I'm grateful for. But I think that I no longer experience this disconnect because it isn't there. I connect. It's who I am, and it's a part of me.
And these are topics that you spoke of in your book that you have.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sis. You're a copper. Yes.
Your name on the back though.
Period. No, that's right. I had the honor to write. What do you call it?
It's advanced praise. So she read the book before the book came out to give
There
to
we
you guys.
go. I'm official. The fuck, like I'm out here on book covers,
and
like,
so's her business.
yes. And I'm just listen. Y'all have to get the book. Like, yeah, the Get the Glow, all of that. But yes, like, so the topics that we're speaking of right now, like, you spoke a lot more in depth in your book, and you really just spoke a lot more about just who you are, your upbringing, places that you've lived that may have shocked a lot of people like myself, you know, and just the experiences that you've had, not only with just your relationship, your background with your mother and your family and your marriage, but also in your weight loss journey for the both of you, because you both have literally had such a huge transformation. And I want to, you know, tap into that also briefly, because it's just like, that's a huge difference. You know what I mean? So, and if you're not following them, of course, we're going to have their Instagrams displayed, but make sure that you, you know, keep up with their journey. And Jessica's very open about their process, her process, and just very transparent about who she is and the weight loss journey itself. And I think it's very inspirational for people that are inspired or wanting to actually start weight loss journey, or that are already in the process of, you know, their weight loss journey and just need that motivation to continue, or just inspiration. You know what I mean? I love her content. She's an amazing content creator. And like I said, that transparency is just very refreshing. It's a breath of fresh air. So literally going from, what was, for the both of you, what was your, I would say, your biggest weight?
Yeah, so the biggest weight that I started tracking was 320. Okay. But there were periods when I got to 340, I stopped weighing myself. So like this journey has taken, I started in Delaware in 2018, and I never wanted to call it a weight loss journey because I felt very insecure that I could reach any tangible goals.
Absolutely.
Because like I like to eat.
Yeah.
And I struggle
Me too.
with eating, and I compulsively eat. I eat when I'm in public. People like, why aren't you leaving the house? Because if I leave the house, I'm gonna eat everything in front of me. Like I go to an event, it's compulsive, but it's a problem.
I love to eat.
And then if you're busy and you don't get enough movement to burn it off, then you're accumulating mass, right? So in 2018, I wanted to start movement, and I started hiking. And I also started consuming cannabis on these hikes, because this is also when I started experiencing, for the first time, anxiety in the residence hall. So I was looking for ways to manage my mental health. And what I learned was hiking and weed made me feel better. And so every Sunday and I also changed my diet. So I went plant-based, and I figured out that I love those things. That balance made me feel better. And so I was feeling better. I felt more energized. I felt confident. I quit my job. We moved home to Detroit. I couldn't find a job, and then I found a job, and I got fired from that job. But I had, between that time, I lost 75 pounds. I lost 75 pounds. Because I did Smash in the summer, and when I was working with the youth on campus, I was walking so fucking much. I was walking all the time. Like that was campus, and so I dropped, and I was plant-based. So I dropped 75 pounds in that period. And then I started working a job where I was sedentary. I started smoking cigarettes. I was stressed all the time. I was eating whatever, and I gained it all back. And then some. And so I was really struggling with this journey, and I even was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I hired someone to make my meals. I hired Cooking with Q to make me vegan meals, and I started to then incorporate more movement and trying different movement practices. Well, when you've been sedentary your whole life, I've never been an athlete. I've never trained anything. I also have a history of sexual assault. And so I hadn't paid attention to movement in my body. And so when I would go to yoga classes, when Heather started teaching yoga classes, I found that like consuming cannabis before I went in helped me to feel things in my body. I still was weak. I lacked mobility. I was like not very coordinated. I'm still not coordinated. And these have all been things that I've had to learn through movement. I've had to like get out of my head. So sometimes, most of the time when I'm doing things, I close my eyes or I consume some cannabis to like get out my mind. I also try to focus on the muscle group and where I should be feeling it in my body. And I practice my breath in order to like really do the things. And I've just started getting a grasp of breath. And so like learning to move in your body has been a whole journey for me. And so I've just increased more and more movement. And now I'm like lifting heavy weights. And now I'm about to go to a fitness like weekend in April. So now I'm training for that shit. And I'm just like increasing the intensity. And then also I still struggle with controlling the diet. I have a sugar addiction and I'm trying to train my brain. This is the new story I'm telling myself, that sugar is feeding parasites in your body. And so the more sugar you're consuming, the more parasites that you're keeping alive inside of you. And so if you don't want parasites in your body, do not eat sugar. And like, that's what I'm trying to train myself.
Don't consume sugar.
I am not on a physical weight loss journey. I am happily fat right now. You know, I got all this love weight, but you know, I definitely very supportive of my wife and definitely agree that I want to incorporate more activity because I am the heaviest I've been in my life, and so definitely want to get back to where I was when in my mid-20s, which was probably 80 pounds lighter.
I think that's why I want us to challenge, like, let's not call it weight loss journey, like, because really what Kara's on is getting back into movement, because Kara is most happy when she's doing her movement too. We met when she was in the gym, you know, like we met, she was boxing, she's strong as fuck. And so like just reprioritizing the areas of joy in your life. And those are the things that like, we also want kids, and you got to be able to bend down, pick up. That was really one of the motivating factors for me, is I couldn't pick myself up from the ground. How am I going to pick my baby up if I ever have one? You know, like.
Absolutely. So yes, that is why I'm definitely getting into the gym with her, but not just because I want to lose weight. It's just I want to maintain a healthy lifestyle in my golden years so I can keep up with my kids.
So how many kids do you all want to have?
I want twins, and I want one pregnancy, and I want twins.
Just one and done.
But if we don't get twins, I still think we might adopt another.
Yeah. So two?
Two is good. And they are blessings, like literally. Oh, I love that for y'all, because I was gonna ask that to our kids, like somewhere in the future for y'all. But I definitely see y'all having kids. I know that you love kids. Yeah, like. Yeah, I was so happy you got to meet Harmony. But yes,
the
that's my
superstar.
honey. Yes, I love that. So, how are y'all? I actually talked about this briefly with my last interviewer, Sahir. Shout out to Hyperapathy, period. We talked about mating process.
Fertility?
Yes, fertility behind, you know, how are you all seeking that way? Like, is it going to be the traditional, like, bring a man in, or are you like planting?
You know, it's so funny because I only envisioned it one way happening for me, because I am a lesbian, and I knew I was gonna marry down and be settled with a woman, and so these ideas of like doing it traditional where there's a man in the room or something like that, kind of like in L Word, that one episode where they trapped that one guy. Nah, it wasn't anything like that. I always envisioned that I would we would be in the process of making love, and when she orgasms, then I would insert the semen inside of her. So that's how I always envisioned.
And Frida made a new in-home device for people. It's called in-home insemination. And you can like literally get a cup.
So are y'all just finding the semen?
Oh, no, we're not going to a sperm bank or anything. We're not doing artificial insemination like that, where you're at a hospital. No, we're gonna try and make it as natural as possible for her. Yeah. But you know, yeah, no, we've actually had a few folks that we asked, close friends, who know our situation and are willing to be a part of that.
I'm willing to take it however it comes.
I know she yes, the Lord knows. She's just like, get it, I want it now.
And that was also just something I wanted to, I'm gonna steal this, ask. Like, I know that you're lesbian.
Yeah.
You are
She's queer.
queer. For us uneducated folk, what does that consist of?
Queer means my attractionality is not defined by your gender. But I also view queer as a politic. Like, literally, it's how I view the world. In the sense that fuck every system. Like, this doesn't make sense. If I'm not happy in it, I can figure out how to navigate it. So, yeah, that also goes with how I view marriage. The way that I view marriage is very queer. Right? I identify as poly. I have multiple relationships. I date men.
And how do you feel about that?
You know, I love her, right? So, been with this girl forever. So, I already knew that when I first met her, because even on our first date, she hooked up with somebody later on that night. You know? So, and she would tell you, and you know, she's told me that she's had multiple partners in the past as well. So it was something that I was already aware of, and we were going to incorporate it into our lives at some point, obviously, because I can't just expect it to just be my way. You know, you want to make sure that they're happy too. And so when she was ready to open up our relationship, you know, so long as our foundation is strong, so long as there's still focus on our marriage, because I'm going to be with this woman for the rest of my life, like, I'm going to let her also explore her other identities.
And that's in the name of love.
Hey, it's not been easy. I got feelings. I got big feelings.
Absolutely. And
You know, there's jealousy.
we're only human.
Envy. There's all those feelings, you know, but we're learning that if there's love in our foundation, there's love in our core, we have to make space for those feelings, reassurance, affirmation, you know, again, keeping our relationship strong, you know, giving those subtle reminders that, you know, we're lifers, you know, nothing else should threaten that. But again, still need to be held like a baby, still need to be treated like a baby.
And do you also share the same like poly belief?
Pardon?
Do you also share like the same poly belief?
No, unfortunately, I am monogamous. I don't, not to shame others. You know, it's a beautiful thing too, right? It's just, you know, I was faced with that once upon a time ago when I was, you know, again, 100 pounds lighter and a lot more fit. I had a lot more attention, and that does allow for a lot of more freedoms and with those attentions. But unfortunately, I the wrong type of attention. But I'm just saying that I knew it. I knew it when the first opportunity was presented to me to maintain 2 relationships, and I just did not want to. And it's just a personal choice. I'm just a one woman type of woman, and she is literally the only person that I see in that way. So I'm cool. But I definitely support it, of course. I understand it. We have friends who are open. And that helped me normalize this too, so that it wasn't so detrimental, or it felt like I was losing the love of my life, when it's just adding to our happiness. So I have to remind myself that a lot. But other than that, like, that's how I was sensitized to the normalization of it, because again, I was raised in a certain way where that was my core belief. And although I'm still choosing for that to be my core belief, it doesn't necessarily mean that I still can't have happiness because someone else is adding more love into their life.
So, hypothetically speaking,
yeah,
I just got to throw this out there. So, if there was ever a situation, say like just she finds like a guy, and she's like, "Ooh, I love this meal," and he's just like in the crib, like drinking like your carton of like orange juice in the bed, like. Would this be a situation like like, would that be like an approved normal? Would there be any boundaries for you? Like, would there be a situation where, like, if you were in a relationship with a man, like, would he be able to come here and facilitate homely manners? You know, like, how would that?
I would say, I will answer this question for both of us. I would say, you know, we definitely envision something, what do you call it, open table? Kitchen table. We're there's a dream and a fantasy of that in the future. Right now, because I'm still learning a lot about myself, especially in this relationship, that there are boundaries, healthy boundaries. Have her partners ever come over and we hung out? Yes. Have I been fine during that, so long as boundaries were maintained? Absolutely. And again, eventually, the more comfortable we get with that, the more open, the more accepting, and the more freedom we will have in the future. Again, working towards that fantasy that we both have for this open kitchen table polyamory lifestyle. But right now, we're just taking it day by day. Because you know, we're still learning. This is still very new for both of us, so we're still learning our boundaries.
And when's your birthday?
July.
And when's your birthday?
I'm a Capricorn. Fuck everybody.
That is such a funny dynamic. Like, seriously.
It's actually really balanced.
No, it is balanced. It's like yin and yang. That's what I'm saying. But it's just, it's still just, you know, like sweet and sour and like literally. Like, I love that. But it works together. So that is amazing. Do you have any touches of, like, you know, just the poly lifestyle that you want to just give, and that you could give any insight to people that are possibly interested in? Again, they're not like boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, they're married. So, you know, this is a marriage that, you know, is open about their experience and, you know, their feelings, and very transparent just about, you know, the lifestyle that they have. So is there any, you know, I don't know, just tips or insight that you could give from your experiences to other people that could possibly help them?
I think if you can envision it, you can make it happen, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And so, like, so for me, I follow content producers that are poly, and I'm like, okay, this helps add to the vision, because it allows, and like making sure that you can see people who are living this life and like normalizing that for you. I just think that love should be abundant, and you should be able to receive and give it as freely as possible. And therefore, if everything is rooted in love, I feel like it's good. It is hard. People are hard. And it's hard to also like navigate. I think the difficulty of having because we've been married and we've been together for almost 13 years, is like having a solid foundation, and a solid foundation in monogamy of just like one another. And being committed in what your foundation is for, understanding the purpose of your marriage or your primary relationship. If you're going to maintain a hierarchy, because this is where I said I have a queer ideology. Like, ideologically, I believe in relationship anarchy is what it's called. That means that because I have estranged family ties, right? Some of my friends are closer to me than my blood relatives.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, that's queer. That's, you know, like that's what queer folks, and that's kinship, you know, that's deep. And queer. So like, my sister didn't invite me to her wedding, you know, like where I'm gonna be in, you know, like my people's wedding, you know, like.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like the kinship is valuable at different levels that we've been socialized to believe. And then and then also some of the things, like, so my friend just asked me, like, how do you maintain your own independence when you've been with someone so long without becoming codependent, right?
Exactly.
We always had outside networks. I would take trips without Cara. Like, I lived my life. She's a muse in my life. Like, you are an important thread in my life in terms of inspiration, but I had a life outside of you always.
Absolutely.
And so, like, you need to have a life as abundantly full as you have capacity.
That's
like,
so important.
And people are like, like trying to put scarcity on love, and that's what I like ideologically disagree with. Now, I have capacity in terms of my time in dating, and I only want like one partner, you know, and then like, and I want these relationships to be consistent in my life. Absolutely. Like, that's why I do foresee kitchen table dynamics. But have I been choosing the right situations in order to get that? No. So like it's still all learning.
Yeah,
you know, like it's still all,
absolutely.
like I'm exploring fun, whatever I'm doing.
You know,
yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
Understanding.
Yeah.
I love
There's
that.
still growth. And have there been boundary violations? 1000%. All the time. People are human. And I think that the thing, if you have a marriage that you're going to maintain while you're pursuing outside relationships, you need to know, are you having a hierarchical relationship dynamic, meaning this is your primary and has more access to you than your other relationships, or are you doing a relationship anarchy approach, like meaning that there's no stand. Yeah, you can, everybody's treated equal. Once y'all have that, then you talk about like, okay, how is this going to be? Is this a don't ask, don't tell thing? Or are we doing kitchen table, like where people know each other, we having dinner together? Like, how's the closeness? How's the intimacy? And you need to talk through this so you can have
communication at the end of the day.
Yeah. And then it's like, the other thing is, I said it, we have very different opinions. I said, like, I'll take whatever comes easiest, right? Like, okay, if like, why so like childbearing, like, what does that look like? Are they allowed to have children outside of the relationship? Like, those are real conversations, and those are difficult conversations, and those are disagreements and whatever. But you have to have these conversations and set these norms and standards and be in alignment with one another and in agreement with one another and respect to uphold those commitments.
Thank y'all so much for your vulnerability and just sharing your story. And I feel like, again, that will literally help so many people, because I know so many conversations are just hidden conversations, hidden topics that people are too scared to bring up with their friends, or their friends are too judgmental, you know, to be able to understand where other people are coming from. So I just am, like I said, I've always been inspired by just your presence, energy, your story. And I love the Copper House. Y'all know I be repping y'all so we die, okay? Period. So I know we've got the Copper House's Instagram, but where can we personally find you all if you want to share your personal Instagrams?
Yeah, I am Just Human. Oh, I am Just Human on Instagram. That's how you can find me.
Hippity hop. I know it sounds a little weird. You know, the song, the hip hop, hippie. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I told y'all. Still working on. Anyway, HIPPNE hop. HOP.
Period. I know that's right. And then just one more time, where can we find the Copper House Detroit, and how can we find you as far as the website?
Yeah.
Instagram and website.
CopperhouseDET.com. And then you can find us on Instagram at CopperhouseDET.
Period. I know that's motherfucker right. And if you don't know, now you know. Make sure you're following us, if you're not already, on Instagram at The Lions Den Talk Show, Dreamland TV Studios, and Tierra Tene. You already know what the fuck going on. Period. Like, tune in, subscribe. Thank y'all so much for watching. And it's a motherfucking wrap.
But I came here solo. Nigga flew in just to see me. Now these little hoes wanna beat me. Promise me you won't do them too.